Star Wars Rogue One. It's really awesome. I loved it. It's really awesome. I'm gonna tell you why now, but I fooled you guys. Well, it's Christmas again, and you know what that means? It's Star Wars season again, right?
What chance do we have?
I mean, it almost seems like it follows the same release date pattern as Star Wars The Force Awakens. That movie came out the 17th of December 2015, while Star Wars Rogue One came out 15th of December. So it almost seems close proximity. And also, are the other Star Wars movies going to do this? And while on the subject, I would like to quickly talk about Star Wars The Force Awakens. It was a really good movie, I quite enjoy it, and also the first real Star Wars to have a female lead, at least in the movies, which is quite a first. It introduces new characters like Rey, Finn, and Poe, and also 8BB-8, Kylo Ren, but also reintroduces old characters like Princess Leia, Han Solo and Chewbacca, and of course Luke Skywalker at the end. Yeah, you can kind of point out the similarities between this and, say, Episode 4, like the entire plot is very similar, like how Starkiller Base is a lot like the Death Star, and I pretty much pointed out very quickly in the theaters while watching it, but overall it's a great start to a pretty much new trilogy in the series. But enough of that. I want to talk about the main events. Star Wars Rogue One, or Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Why can't you just call it Star Wars Rogue One? That would have been much easier. But I guess it will confuse people that this is episode 8 and not a prequel story that's before episode 4. Okay, before I start, I would like to mention that there's going to be a little bit of spoilers in this review. Don't get mad, don't get triggered. There is going to be a spoiler warning that pops up at the beginning of a script, at the beginning of the spoiler section. So you've been warned. Again, don't get triggered, don't get angry in the comments. Just watch the review, watch my personal thoughts, or hear my personal thoughts I should say, and just enjoy. Alright, so it starts off very well. It doesn't really throw you head first into the action. I mean, well, there is kind of shooting in the intro, but it doesn't really like throw headlong like in Revenge of the Sith. Revenge of the Sith pretty much starts with like a space battle. Pretty much right at the beginning. It doesn't really have a slow intro right away. I mean, I guess also episode 4, A New Hope kind of started that way with like the rebels being chased by the Empire. I mean, a point of an introduction is to introduce us to the movie we're watching, maybe set the tone or introduce the characters that we're going to be attached to, or hate. This one, it does it well. It introduces us to our main character, her father, her mother, and also the main bad guy of the movie. I mean, he pretty much is the main bad guy, even though you have a certain Sith Lord in the movie, which I'm going to tell you about later. But the introduction does really well to establish the characters and what tone this movie is going to be. Also, it's the only Star Wars movie that doesn't have a title crawl at the beginning. Wait, what? No title crawl? I mean, I know things like Star Wars The Clone Wars has no title crawl at the beginning, and same with Rebels, the two animated series, it doesn't really begin with a title crawl, but this is the first Star Wars movie that doesn't begin with one, which is interesting. I wonder how people feel about that. I can hear riots in the street about, where's the damn title crawl? But I guess it doesn't really need it, since it's really more of a spin-off. It's a prequel to Star Wars, to episode 4. Man, yeah, it does kind of jump around a little bit, especially after the introduction. Once that's over and done with, it does jump around between different planets. Like, here we are with this planet. Oh, here we are in the jail cell. Oh, here we are in a trading facility. Oh, here's the Death Star. But once our main character, whose name is Jyn Erso, Rezo. I can't really pronounce that last name, but once she's on the rebel base, it kind of focuses mainly on them. I mean, it might cut back to, say, like the Empire sometimes, and also another character whose name is Saw Gerrera, who's like this extremist who left the rebels. But once it pretty much my point. Once she's on the rebel base, it pretty much focuses on them. So, which is really good. I don't want a movie that jumps around all the time, and it'll pretty much be a convoluted mess of just things crammed into the movie, like with The Amazing Spider-Man 2 or Suicide Squad or even Batman vs Superman. There are some parts I like about Batman vs Superman. So, okay, so up ahead there might be some spoilers, so be warned. So pretty much you got the rebels, you got Jin, you got a new character K2OS, who's the Imperial droid who got reprogrammed by the rebels, who are now assisting on their mission. And another character, who was the other guy? Sorry, my memory's not working. Captain Caston, yeah. Captain Caston, Jin, and K2OS pretty much go down to this planet where it's pretty much a mining ground for the Kyber crystal, which is a certain crystal that powers the Jedi's lightsaber, pretty much used to make a lightsaber. And it's also been used by the Empire to have a power source for the Death Star, for the Death Star's power source for this new weapon that they're making. And speaking of lightsabers, there's pretty much a movie that barely has any lightsaber fights or duels or any Jedis wielding lightsabers. Well, besides the end with Vader and his red Sith saber at the end again, but no lightsabers in the entire movie, which is different. I guess it's a little bit more, quote unquote, realistic enough for Star Wars, since there's no real Jedis who use the Force, who can deflect laser shots with their sabers or really cut troopers down. It's different. It's quite different. They pretty much have to rely on the blaster and tactics, as well as air support. I'd say it definitely got the Rebels down to the pinch. It's definitely got their tactics and how small and unequipped the Rebels are compared to the Empire, and how the Empire is large in scale, mass, so much forces, overly just outnumbered the Rebels, like in sheer numbers, but the Rebels still fight anyway for pretty much for freedom, to be able to rebel. Rebellions are built on hope. That was one of the lines in the movie. And you kind of may notice I haven't really said anything negative. I mean, maybe a little bit of criticism, a few points there and then, but no real negative. But I do have to say, I'm not sure if these characters, especially, not really the main character, but the other cast of characters are really going to be memorable. I mean, obviously characters like Darth Vader, Grand Admiral Tarkin, or Moff. Grand Admiral Tarkin. I keep confusing the two. But pretty much the new characters that were introduced, I don't know if they'll be memorable. I mean, I certainly remember the droid in the film, Captain Casson. I'm trying to pronounce his name. And also that blind guy as well. I really like the blind guy. He looks like a Jedi, he feels like a Jedi, but he's not actually a Jedi. But probably the other characters, I'm not sure are going to be that memorable. I have to wait and see, but there are a few characters I like, but I don't think that the other characters are that memorable. And pretty much the third act of this movie is pretty much the icing on the cake. It's the part where, okay, I better explain this. So, pretty much they have this planet where it's shielded. It's basically shield all the way. They've much had to get down to the planet and retrieve the Death Star plans to order to destroy it, because Jin's father was working on it and left a hidden secret, a hidden weakness, a hidden weak point in the Death Star itself, ordered to destroy it. That's the kind of shaft that you see in Episode 4, where there's proton torpedoes kind of go into at like when the one that Luke shot in Ep 4. Yeah, that's pretty much the weakness, and pretty much they need the plans to expose this weakness, to know where it is, so they can destroy the Death Star. Basically becomes like Jin, Captain, and K2SO5. It's a pretty hard name to say. Pretty much they go and infiltrate the facility to get the plans, while the rebels on their ship, which they stole a Imperial cargo ship, which they used to land on the planet, pretty much distract all the stormtroopers and pretty much use it as a diversion. And then you got a fleet of all these rebel ships at the top, in space, where the shield is, and pretty much they try to infiltrate the planet. I mean, some ships eventually get through before the shield closes up. Pretty much there's like a shield entrance into the planet. But it turns out that in order to send the plans, they need to send a transmission. So unfortunately, the planet, because of its shielding, it doesn't have a way. It's impossible for a transmission to go through the planet while the shields are up. So pretty much the attack in space is trying to disable the shield so that the transmission can get from the planet to the rebellion in space of the Death Star plans. And of course, our main character and his companions have to get the plans first through the facility. They pretty much dress up in all Imperial. Captain Castro is a Imperial officer. Jin dresses up like one of those Imperial, one of those troopers who pretty much operates the Death Star cannon, whatever they're called, but basically dresses up like them in order to infiltrate it. And it basically then becomes like a battle in space and also a big huge battle on the land, on the ground. You have laser blasters, battle lines, AT-ATs pretty much coming in and blasting them, and pretty much they have like rocket launchers, and you have rebel ships pretty much in the planet, pretty much joining the battle, taking out the ground, and also fighting in the air. It's pretty much, the third act is pretty much epic. It's pretty much the place where you want to see ground battles and also space battles happening at the same time. I don't know if this competes with the scene in Return of the Jedi where you have a battle in Endor on the ground and the battle in space at the same time, which I don't know if it still competes it, but it's pretty close. It definitely beats out the space battle of Revenge of the Sith. I mean, it's just so much crap on the screen in Revenge of the Sith. I mean, it kind of feels like it is here, but it doesn't. It kind of feels like there's an epic war. Well, that's just like a bunch of ships close together, pretty much all closed in and fighting. The third act is the best part of the movie, I have to say, hands down. I mean, I love all the rest of the movie, but the third act is the most awesome part of the movie. And they have like the realistic props, like the actual props and costumes for the stormtroopers, and also some of the creatures and aliens used in the movie. Well, there's some parts that use CGI, but it seems like a blend of practical effects and CGI, a lot like Star Wars The Force Awakens is like that. And the special effects in this movie just blow me away. It's so good. It looks so detailed. It actually looks like it's there. I kind of believe it is. And Even like the special effects for the droid, for the Imperial droid K2SO. Yeah, got it. K2SO. Pretty much feels like he's there. I mean, he's pretty much CGI, but he looks real enough. And I believe he's there. I believe he's like pumping stormtroopers in the face and blasting him. I believe it. So that's my review of Star Wars Rogue One, or Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. I highly recommend it. If I have to rate it, I'll give it a 9 out of 10. Easily. Easily one of the best Star Wars films, if not the best. I don't know how it competes now with Empire or The Force Awakens. I don't know how it competes because I still think Empire Strikes Back is the best, and The Force Awakens is definitely second best to Empire, in my opinion. But I think the Rogue One is definitely up there. So if you enjoyed this review, give this video a like. If you like my content, please subscribe. If you're subscribed to me, please hit that bell so you can get notified of what videos are uploaded if I upload them. And I promise to upload more content frequently. So anyway, this has been Dreadwing 2029 signing out, and may the Force be with you.